Hey, I'm Kristi Kem. I'm an accountant and a mom and an entrepreneur. I help run Dope CFO Certified Advisors. We are a CFO franchise that focuses on cannabis businesses and helping them excel. And part of our ethos is really to give back to our greater cannabis community. And to do that, I volunteer with Freedom Grow. We're a 501c3 nonprofit that's all volunteer led. And we focus on providing direct assistance to cannabis prisoners and their families. So one of my favorite programs that we have is our WISH program. It allows our prisoners to reach out to us directly and ask for what they need, whether that be commissary support, money for their families who might be going through a hardship back home, flowers for an anniversary, things like that, and really allows them to feel like they have some connection with the outside world beyond just letters and phone calls. And our mission is to bring light to a dark cell, and that's what we're out here doing every single day, and making sure that people know that even though it seems all fun and legal, that there are people still in cages, literal actual cages, and children who are still separated from their parents because of the war on drugs. And we're going to stay out here raising awareness about them and about our mission until every single last one of them comes home. So actually, I was never personally affected by the war on drugs, right? So, but what I do know is that as a child, I had an absent parent, and I know how that affected me. And as I became a mother, I became a military wife, and I saw how being away from a parent affected my children. And so that gave me a lot of empathy for our cannabis prisoners. And it actually was a story that I had forgotten, that was brought to my attention a few years ago. So I ran into Lanier, who's the president of Freedom Grow, and he was telling me about the mission and showing me pictures of prisoners. And as I was thumbing through this book of prisoners, I came across the face of Luke Scarmazzo, who is the founder of Profit Brands, right? And when Luke was arrested along with his co-defendant, Ricardo, I actually lived in Modesto, California. I was a young mom. I was a Prop 215 cannabis patient. And so it was big news for us, right? And so I remember all of that stuff happening. And when Randy had brought that to my attention, several years later, I was embarrassed for myself because I had kind of forgotten their story and that they were still serving time while I was now working in the cannabis industry, making money, serving my family. And I just really thought, gosh, we have to be their voice. We have to be the boots on the ground. We have to be the ones to fight for them, because it's really easy to forget that they're going through that when we're enjoying legal market activities, right? And so I've never been affected, like I said, directly. It's just more of I know what it feels like to be separated from a parent, and no child should have to go through that, especially for a plant. Yes, you can find me on Instagram. I'm at dopecfo.Kristi Vaneé. That's DOPECFO.KRISTIVANEE. And I'm on Blue Sky Social at Blue Sky Kristi Vaneé.
Where are you at today?
I'm at the Hall of Flowers in Ventura.
You find the right crew, stick with it. But the biggest thing and most important thing, and I think this environment, is find somebody that's a numbers person. If you don't have a good numbers person, most of these people that are coming up with ideas and trying to launch businesses are not rock solid numbers people, and you have to have one. In fact, my numbers person is actually not here because he's in the office crunching numbers. So
that's our natural habitat. Honestly, Tom, we like to be in Excel in our cave crunching numbers. Me myself as well. This is one of the few times they let me out. But that's a good point, right? You need a really solid numbers person, because investors are not going to give your bro $3 million and feel good about that. They really want to know that there's somebody who understands those numbers inside and out to feel good about you stewarding their money, because all business is tricky. Cannabis is especially tricky. So if you're not really on top of those numbers, your plan's going to go by the wayside real quick, and that's not something you want. And I'm not saying don't bring good people with you, from other projects. Don't bring your bro with you. bring them. There's a time and a place, but put that ace in his place, and it's probably not as the CFO. Hire a real numbers person, hire a real operations person, hire people who are going to help you get to that next spot. And those people are going to have to go on that roadshow with you. And I want to talk a little bit about that roadshow and what that means about getting a roadshow package together and how to make that hit with investors, right? Because I know, again, like as a money person, when I'm looking at a deck, I'm shocked. 80% of them don't even tell me what the deal is. They don't even tell me what the fuck am I getting for giving you $5 million right now, besides just a blank check. I really, and so what are some of your guys' tips for putting together a roadshow package that just really kills in the boardroom?
So for me personally, I start with shorter is better, simpler is better. Again, if you can't explain it in a couple paragraphs, it's probably too long. But that's a pet peeve of mine too. If you don't have a term sheet in your deck that says very simply in bullet points what people are going to get if they invest with you, then you're missing it. And so a good pro forma, a term sheet, and then a decent looking presentation that doesn't have errors, I think is 90% better than most decks I see.
Yeah, that's the truth.
I think it's actually a lot about storytelling too, right? I know, when we've raised about $50 million at Flow Hub over the years in various rounds, and a lot of it was just really strong storytelling, right? Like, you open up the deck, you got to figure out where your strengths are, you explain the business and what's the problem you're solving, what's the solution to that problem, but you do it in an artful way where it sucks people in, and they're like, oh, I didn't realize this was a problem, and I didn't realize that there was such a straightforward solution, and you bring them in and you're spot on. You need the financials to back up the story, but I do think, look, humans we communicate through storytelling. And if you can tell a really strong story backed up by strong financials, that's a great way to get people's attention. I think the other thing too is, when you're running a road show, when you're going out and raising capital, you got to be really disciplined about going after the right investors. Test on some of the small ones first, get feedback, take the feedback seriously before you go to the bigger ones. But you got to do this in a short period of time with it, and you really time box it, because if investors love to drag shit out, right? If they realize there's not a whole lot of momentum in a deal, you're not going to get the momentum you need to actually close it at all. And so you got to go find your lead. You got to go find, and put the round together over, a 4-month period, whatever it might be. But you got to set that tone and that track, and be very honest with the investor about how quickly you're moving, because they're going to waste your time.